The nature of science. How do we know what we know, and why is it important? By Holly, Christina, Joanne, and Sahib. Science is a particular way of knowing about the world. In science, explanations are restricted to those that can be inferred from confirmable data, the results obtained through observations and experiments that can be substantiated by other scientists. Anything that can be observed or measured is amenable to scientific investigation. Explanations that cannot be based on empirical evidence are not a part of science. Okay, so we know what science is, but what makes science and scientific methods so important? To illustrate why science is so important, here's a short video clip outlining several opinions.
Well, I think it's important because we live in a scientific age, and it's important that society understand the science.
Knowing how the world really works and finding out by looking at the world is better than just believing what someone tells you or just making up a fancy about it.
Well, I think it's the way of arriving at truth about the universe because, taken in its most general sense, science is disciplined inquiry.
Now we know why science is important, but how exactly does it work? For starters, as stated before, science is an explanation of the world around us based off of evidence observed. This evidence is what separates science from religion. Religion is faith-based, but science is evidence-based. In order to consider an idea science, it must be supported with solid evidence when asked this question: how do you know what you know? For instance, take the heliocentric versus geocentric theory. This is a great example of faith versus science. The church believed in the geocentric theory, or that the sun and other planets revolved around the earth. The church did have some evidence for their theory, like sunrises and sunsets, but the geocentric theory crumbled when actual observations and experiments occurred. Take a look at some of these experiments that took down the geocentric model.
In 1512, Copernicus finished his unpublished manuscript called Small Commentary. The manuscript contained his theory, the heliocentric model. The heliocentric model is the model of the universe in which the universe revolves around the sun rather than the earth. Until this point, it was widely believed that the universe revolved around the earth. The problem with this theory is that in order for the geocentric model to be possible, the sun would have to orbit around the earth in a crazy spiral. Years later, Copernicus's theory remained unpublished. Copernicus's reason for not publishing his theory until he was on his deathbed is because the theory disproved the geocentric model, which was accepted by the Roman Catholic Church. Copernicus's theory was more accurate than the geocentric theory, but not exact. In Copernicus's system, the planets orbit around the sun in perfect circles. Later, it was discovered that the shape of the orbit was closer to an ellipsoid. Using Copernicus's heliocentric model, Isaac Newton was able to prove his theory of gravity. It wasn't until later Einstein went a step further and figured out that the center of the solar system was actually 1.5 million kilometers off the center of the sun.